Did you choose now to not be quiet?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Thursday night's Boys from the Baltic Star. We don't have any Boys from the Baltic Star branding on screen at all. I've failed us tonight. That's too got so much going on. I'm a bit overwhelmed. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight, we're playing a one-shot called You Are 100 Goblins, but we're playing it in space. We're not in space. The goblins are in space. Well, I guess we are the Earth, but the goblins are in space. I'm Luke, rambling like an idiot in the bottom corner. Next to me in the red is Ben. It's Ben's night off tonight. He's playing, and there is a way to spend your points. If it's Ben's night off, you can make him chug a drink because it is his night off. The person whose night off it is not is Ewan. He's 2 across, and he is GMing today. It took him at least a fortnight to read all the rules. Good evening, Mr. Leno. And you may notice a new face 3 across. Regulars to the channel may recognise the name from chat and from being generous with boons and wanting the story of Rose's cat. It is Sparrow. Who's joining us.
Are we doing Rose's cat tonight?
And no, we're not doing Rose's cat. That's for Fridays only, I'm afraid.
That has to be on Fridays, I'm afraid.
All right.
So,
you've disappointed your public.
Yeah,
I kind of figured.
You can't leave though. You are playing, so you have to stay even though. The other thing I'm getting introduced by handing over to Ewan is we are doing our Summer of Love this month, and part of that is giveaways, and we could do a couple of giveaways this evening. All you need to do... Oh, the game to off Twitch says Cloudpunk. Thank you, I need to change that. The giveaway for this evening... Oh no, I can't change it because I'll crash. Curses. The giveaway for this evening is, first of all, Tony Shaw, who is an excellent creator. We're taking 2 of her badges. She does class and alignment badges for D&D. So you've got all the alignments. Neutral good is one. Chaotic evil, that's another one. Lawful good, that's another one, you see. So there's lots of examples. And all the classes as well. And to enter the competition, just click on the little Imperial Credit Sun. Click on the little ticket. Drop your 200 credits. That will enter you into a prize draw. And the winner will be rolled for. And they will get their choice of a class dice and a class badge, an alignment badge, which we will buy for you, and we will make sure they're shipped off to you anywhere in the world that Tony covers, which I think is most places in the world. Tony's advert will come up during the break, so you can check that out as well. So yeah, so if you're interested in that, just drop the 200 credits, we'll add you to the list, and we'll draw that later. But for now, that's enough of me talking. I'm going to try and find a way to change the title. Over to you, Ewan.
Thanks, and hello. We are indeed playing You Are 100 Goblins in space. Now go save the world. Okay, before we get started, a very important part of having fun is a disclaimer. This adventure holds no real significant fact or place in the realm of physics or spatial logic. In fact, we'll bend some rules and disregard others entirely in true Baltic Star fashion. If you wish to inform me of the way that any of this would fail catastrophically in real life, please send me a DM and I'll be happy to learn something new. But for now, relax, sit back and enjoy the game. The year is, well, frankly, the exact date across the universe is complicated and irrelevant. You, that is your clan of precisely 100 goblins, are citizens of the most densely populated solar system in known existence. The capital system of all known life. I say citizens, you live there and you're allowed to exist, provided you prove useful. Your latest use to those in charge is that of the utmost importance. You 300 goblins are about to set off on a mission to stop the destruction of life, the universe, and everything in it. Each member of your clan stands having just boarded your vessel, dressed in your government issue uniform of red shirt and black space trousers, as the Chancellor of Planet 3, the system's capital planet, the centre of it all, stands before you, flanked by armed guards, and says, "Once more, thank you. Remember your training, remember your mission, and those of you who make it back alive," he turns and winks to the guard on his left, will be forever free to enjoy life without the need to make yourselves useful to society. And trust me when I say this is the best way to enjoy life. As you think back to your training, you vaguely remember sitting in some kind of lecture hall with the other goblins as a woman at the front of the room addresses you and says, "Right, so who do we have here?" And looks around the room for somebody to introduce the name of your clan.
One of my goblins looks up from chewing on the corner of a chair and simultaneously picking the ear of the one next to him and says, "We are known as Clan Reginald, named after Reginald. So we're all Reginald. We're Clan Reginald."
Right, Clan Reginald. I've got you down here for some reason.
It's Reginald.
Thank you, Reginald. You can sit down now. Anyone else?
Sorry, go.
Yeah, my goblins all stand up and they start hopping in the sort of like wave pattern, but it's all broken up, so it's not really a wave. And they just shout, "Hoblins, hoblins, hoblins, hoblins," until someone tells them to shut up.
She starts writing down hoblins. Yes, hoblins. You're on the list as well. And I think there should be one more clan here.
Yes, there's a sort of huddled mass of 100 goblins. They all sort of try and not be the one to announce the name. And then one of them is sort of thoroughly pushed to the front and stands up as tall as can be managed when you're a tiny goblin, and announces at the top of his voice, "We are Clan McGoblin." And there's a sort of brief pause while all of the others raise one finger and start waving it at him enthusiastically.
Wonderful. She ticks off another, what you can only assume is box on her clipboard, and says, yes, McGoblin, I've got you down here as well. It appears we're all here.
Is this like there can be only 100?
Exactly.
Yeah. Or maybe it's one, and as each one of them dies,
That
the
was
rest
my
of them
thought.
become slightly more powerful. Who knows? Each of your clan members looks identical to you. However, they're green, 2 foot tall, and have pointy ears.
To be fair, that is how I look without the makeup on.
I don't know. I can't zoom in enough on the graphics to pick out the wonderful graphics.
Ben's standing up right now. You're smaller than all the rest of us tonight. You're leaning a long way back tonight. Little tiny Ben McGoblin.
You sit there in the lecture theatre style room. The atmosphere is, I suppose it depends on your clan's chaos level, which I think you've already all assigned, but you can tell us now. The way this works for anybody watching who hasn't read the rules is it's a number from 1 to 5, no duplicates allowed. 1 is pretty chaotic, 5 is absolute mayhem. That's the way I figured it anyway. As we go through the game, players will roll dice decided by the risk factor of what they're trying to do or doing. 1, the lowest risk factor, is a D6, 2 a D8, 3 a D10, 4 a D12, and 5 a D20. If the risk factor is equal to their chaos level, they can reduce the number rolled by 1, and that will tell us how many of their goblins have died performing or undergoing a risk. So if you'd like to all tell us what your what your chaos levels are, just so we're all aware.
The Hoblins are chaos level 2.
Wonderful. And then McGoblin.
Getting into my goblin persona, 4.
And Clan Reginald. And for those of you who don't speak chaos, that was chaos level 5. The lady in the front in the lab coat continues. Okay. Calm down. So as you all know, the heavily populated... Was that just over my headphones? Was that someone?
I heard that. Is that your train again?
It might have been a train. So as you all know, the heavily populated capitalist system produces a vast amount of waste each day. And this waste is handled by a super high-tech sewage system. Industrial units on each planet collect and process the waste into their allocated sewage tube, which extends off-world where it connects with sewage tube prime, taking it directly to the sun for incineration. The sun's gravity provides a unique siphon system that draws the waste off each planet and across system. This is where we've run into a bit of bother, and she sort of looks a little bit awkward and down at her notes and settles herself a little bit and continues. The sun's gravity is unstable and the siphon is overperforming. If we don't deconstruct sewage tube prime and turn off the final valve to halt the system, all life on each planet will find itself sucked into the sun by way of waste disposal system. And what's worse, the power plant and its ultra core here on planet 3 will be sucked in as well. When that hits the sun, it will explode with the energy of 1.21 gigawatts, destroying all known life across the universe.
Big boom! Big boom!
Exactly.
Big boom!
Exactly.
Big boom!
She looks around all of the regiments.
Stinky boom. That's
Right,
the best
right.
kind.
Stinky, big stinky boom.
And about 5 of the hoblins just fart really loudly. Stinky boom.
I'm tempted to say there's a risk level involved in that.
For the rest of us.
We'll leave it at that for now. She scrunches up her face, and you can see what was a bit of discomfort and unsettled persona about her when she was talking about the risk to all life is now just sheer disgust, basically, at the smell that is emanating throughout the room. She says, your ship will separate from the space station off-world and automatically jump to the end of sewage tube prime in orbit around the sun. There you will have to act fast, as your ship will automatically maintain orbit, fighting the sun's gravity, but it will not be able to do so for long. You'll need to navigate your way up sewage tube prime using the provided Sewage Heaver Industrial Type 3000, a very large drill. And she writes an acronym on the whiteboard at the front of the room. At a distance of at least 5 irregular space units, you will deconstruct sewage tube prime in order to slow the rate of sewage flow enough to enable you to shut off the valve at the last waypoint near Planet 1 and halt the siphon of sewage from each world. Your ship will navigate to the waypoint after the deconstruction of significant tube. Your memories fade back to the present time as you stand there on your ship. And the Chancellor concludes, I've been in communication with leaders from other systems to inform them of the impending doom. Panic has hit several of these systems, with milk and toilet roll supplies running dangerously low in those with a relatively high population of humans. Be under no illusions. Our fate is in your small green hands. He salutes you. And unless there's anything else you would like to do or ask, the doors to your ship start to close.
The other 95 goblins who did not do the thing race to the bathroom before they get on the ship.
Well, that's good. As they run off in search of the nearest, I want to say facilities, but I mean you're not that chaotic. They're probably trying. Well, it's up to you. Where are they going to go?
Well, I mean, there are 95 of them, so they may not all fit in all of the bathrooms that are available. So wherever, has a drain.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, there's some vents along the side panels, and there's a few
Great.
like bins hanging around. Definitely use those. The Chancellor looks a bit perturbed, but
I mean, there's a little bit of fight over like the elevators and stuff because Taki doors. But they get things taken care of for themselves.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the ship.
Wonderful.
One of the goblins says, "Surely this is just adding to the problem," and then is immediately sort of beaten around the head by the others, as saying, "Stop thinking! It never solves anything."
The Chancellor says, "Yes. You're quite right. Time is of the essence, and we can't have any more waste on this planet. Oh, please hold it until you're in your spacesuits or on the ship or anywhere but here, basically." As the 95 of you rush back towards the ship, the doors are very slowly, they've been on pause for a little while, but as he sees you running back in, the Chancellor continues the doors closing, and just before they do, he says, wait, don't forget your mechanic. And a creature on all fours runs through the door at the very last minute before the doors slide shut and let off a noise as they presumably pressurize.
How big is the mechanic?
The mechanic is it's difficult to say. You look down at the mechanic and you can clearly see that the mechanic is a dog.
Oh, 3 of my goblins, the Reginalds, immediately try and jump on the back of the dog to get ridden around at high speed, if they can. Showing no respect for the mechanic skills.
You certainly can. The dog is he's wearing the dog is wearing a spacesuit, very much like one of the old Soviet dogs. So it's like an upside down fishbowl stuck on top of their head, and they've got the equivalent of a My First Socket set box hanging off their tool belt, and a bit of a little backpack on, so you can certainly try and jump on the back. The dog goes crazy and starts growling at you. I mean, the dog didn't look like he was particularly happy about getting on a ship with 300 goblins in the first place. You're probably quite lucky that he's got his space helmet on, otherwise there may be some biting, gnawing, attacking of goblins, but a couple of them managed to get on, and they
mechanic, licking at the poor thing's bowl over his head, looking at the bowl. Mechanic.
He runs around in circles for a little while before throwing you off. Why not? Go ahead, roll a d6 for me.
D6.
You were pushing for it.
5.
What?
Well, the 2 goblins that were on the back on the back of the dog go flying. One of them shoots up into the ceiling, hits like a light bulb that shatters, or the equivalent of one of those hanging down, spinning round lights. Absolutely shatters. Glass goes falling everywhere. 3 goblins drop down dead, and another one goes splatting into the wall. That's the only reason that
Oh.
Yes, level 5. That's 5 for you.
Serves you right for being cruel to animals.
One of the goblins points at the chaos and says, "Why didn't we think of that?"
Right, then as you stand there in the middle of this hallway, broken glass all around, you suddenly hear over the speakers that are embedded in the ceiling, sort of in between these what would be flashing lights.
Commencing separation from starport 17623-beta.
Can you all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed, actually. We've gone high tech.
Thanks. And then it repeats itself just in case.
Separation from starport 17623-beta.
And the ship begins to sort of shake and judder a little bit, and you hear lots of sort of grinding and scraping of metal noises, I guess, before it stops, and there's nothing.
During the shaking, the hoblins were jumping up and down trying to imitate the shaking. And disconnection. They could have done more with their chaos level too.
I like it. That's pretty chaotic.
Oh, but 100 of them though.
All not in rhythm at all.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not on that ship.
That's good because the resonating frequency of this ship might not hold up to 100 goblins jumping in unison. You're not sure, but you're pretty confident. I mean that's still relatively chaotic compared to this is a massive ship. You know, there's 300 goblins sort of crammed into this hallway. If you can see the graphic, it is in fact very much like the ship on the graphic. So you've boarded at the very very front where that circular ring is. There's like a gap in the middle. Which attaches to the space station, and there's an airlock just inside there. You would know that from the windows on the space station that is where you're boarding on the ship. So that is where you currently are.
Cool.
Well, this hall is boring, so the Hoblins are going to go find out what else is on the ship.
Wonderful. So as you come out of the airlock, you are essentially in what is a crossroads, but the way behind you is now sealed. That's the airlock, basically. So there's a way in front, there's a way to the left, and there's a way to the right. Whichever way you would like to go, collectively or splitting up, it's entirely up to you.
Ben, did you want to say something?
The McGoblins will follow the Hoblins down, stand behind them, and then agitatedly demand to know which way they're going so that we can go the other way.
Left.
Right.
Bathrooms.
And as they separate, there's a horde of 95 rampant Reginalds that just charge straight ahead between them all. So, straight forward.
I mean, that sounds perfect and wonderfully chaotic that you've all
As the Hoblins run down the hall, they're tapping on everything that looks like a panel to see if it will open if they tap on it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, it's not even that they care that there's secret doors. They just, they want to know. So, like, 200 hands just like constantly tapping on every inch of the wall, below 2.5 feet.
Okay. Perfect. So as you go down the corridor, there are these what look like emergency lights, separated by speakers, down the very white, clean cut spaceship. This looks like a new spaceship. It's not been around the block. They've obviously spared no expense at the
It looks like mostly clean above the 3 foot.
Yeah, for now, obviously. And there's like a light panel down the middle of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And every so often at the bottom there's an air vent. As you get to, you don't get very far. Basically, you run down the corridor and then it immediately turns left. There's no other way to go, and it sort of boxes around the airlock. Eventually, if you follow it round, you get to a slightly larger open space, which is filled with the drill. Basically, this has a shutter which you can only assume goes out into space for the drill, and it has this standalone sort of V-shaped with a point at the top, and hundreds of handholds along the sides of these V's, the inner sides of these V's. As you round the corner, you see that, and then coming in the other direction, you see roughly, or at least the start of 100 hobgoblins. 100 McGoblins, rounding the corner, coming into the same space as you.
And what are they doing?
They're yelling at the top of their lungs, "Found a mirror!"
Reginald, all of the Reginalds, go sprinting straight on down the corridor. And again, this goes on for a lot further. This sort of travels towards the end of that little circular unit on the end of the arms of the ship. And then it turns left again and heads down one of the arms. There's nothing of note as yet, but the corridor continues down. As you sort of get to the end where it turns left, all of a sudden over the speakers you hear...
Separation complete. Preparing for jump to sewage tube prime. Estimated time till jump 7 minutes. All crew proceed to jump seats in crew area 4B.
Ben, if we could have the 7-minute timer up.
Oh, pressure.
Certainly can.
If there's anything you want to ask quickly before this starts, then feel free to jump in and then we'll start the timer. And you can all tell me what you'd like to do.
A jump seat's vital to survive. Who knows?
Hard to tell for a goblin.
Do the Reginalds know that?
Do Reginalds know that? Yeah.
Were you paying attention during your training?
No, I was chewing.
Chaos level 5?
Yeah. Of course I wasn't. What are we doing on this ship anyway?
If does a Reginald ask that question?
What are we doing on the ship?
No, our jumpsuits vital.
Yeah, let's ask that.
Jumpsuits. They're for jumping.
Jump seats.
Jump seats.
Sorry.
Jump seats. Jump seats are for jumping.
For the jump, yeah.
And all the hoblins start jumping again.
Oh no!
As they start jumping, there's this tremendous sound of like a stampede, I guess, and the ship says, "Back to you."
Yes, clan, they are.
Oh.
Yes.
Let's find jump seats.
And if Ben, you could start the timer for me, that would be wonderful.
So, noting interesting machine for later with handholds our size later. Let's find jump seats.
Wonderful. As the separation complete, preparing for jump message started, all the red lights on the ceiling start flashing, and the light strips down the corridors start flashing red as well. It gets a bit darker, there's sort of gone to emergency lights and this siren is whirring around. There's like a loud whirring siren going. And I mean, you can go wherever you would like to go. The Hoblins and the McGoblins are stood there in the drill docking area. The Reginalds are up the arm. Every so often down the corridors, you can see a computer screen as well. Like a touchscreen computer screen.
Yeah, we run down the corridor.
Okay. We're going to flee in the direction that the Hoblins are going, purely on the basis that if we're going to die together.
Makes perfect sense. Okay.
The Hoblins are definitely still farting.
Oh, no. You're the one choosing to follow them.
Yeah.
What are the plethora of Reginalds doing at this moment?
They're still carrying on the route they were taking, but they're getting a bit confused. Every time the red light flashes on, they stop, and every time it flashes off, they start moving again. They're a bit confused about what's going on, so they're like slowly making their way, following the route they were doing.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So you get sort of, I guess, maybe halfway down the arm before the other two clans start to catch up with you. And as they do, or as you reach that point, you can see the little dog trots off and turns into a door on the left, just in front of you.
Mechanic!
Yeah.
Are we really that outwitted by a dog?
Are you carrying on? Are you?
The Goblins are going to follow the mechanic.
Wonderful.
The mechanic does look like it knows what it's doing.
Well,
he certainly does.
He's completely outwitted the Luke's tribe of Reginald. So.
The smartest person on the ship.
He heads into the door and you see what is essentially looks like a private quarters. Basically, it's got a little dog bowl, a little dog bed, and there's a seat that's basically a roller coaster seat, with restraints that come down over the dog's head. He's sat there, the restraints come down automatically, but there's only one seat in the room. This pretty much looks like his private quarters.
Not anymore. It's got
Essentially an office. Well, yeah, other than the fact that he's now been in, and he sort of growls at you as you try and pile through the door, but there are no other seats in here.
When they try and get in, can mine try and press the button to shut the door behind them to squish them in? One of the trailing Reginalds. He's just like, Douglas!
Yeah, you do. And it shuts. And you're now, are all of you, did the other two, did the McGoblins and the Reginalds follow in?
No. I didn't.
Okay, so you shut it before them. Perfect. So you guys get to the corridor, and there's a shut door, and there's no sign of the Reginalds. But the corridor sort of at that point or just after starts to bend round. So, I mean, they could have gone around the corner. They could have.
Yeah, I'll just keep running, tapping the walls as we go. Tap, tap, tap.
Yeah. Do you tap any of the computer screens?
Yes. If there are computer screens in reach, they get tapped on.
Oh, wonderful. You randomly tap a computer screen and it pops up with a map of the ship, with a big red line on it.
Okay.
Which you can assume, given the flashing red lights and the alarms and the red line.
Red line, red lights.
Might take you the way you want to go.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it looks as though the red line is pointing round the curved bend of the arm, and then you get to a crossroads and it turns right.
Excellent. We'll try to remember that.
Goblins, are you following the Goblins or are you?
We're currently piled in a room with a dog or a mechanic.
Yes. So my apologies. You followed in. You went in first, didn't you?
Yes.
Wonderful.
At least you're compacted in this space.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's
safe.
pretty tight.
Yeah.
This is one of those spatial awareness things where it doesn't actually play any. There's 300 goblins in corridors on a spaceship.
Oh, I just mean, it's almost like a jump seat if you're being practical.
Squished in.
Yeah. So you are crammed into the room. There's a couple of boxes. There's the dog bed. There's like some lockers. There's some other random stuff. Hoblins, as you start to round the corner, there's another door on your left, and the corridor continues straight on. Which way would you like to go? Straight on or left, Hoblins.
Oh, Hoblins, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
We're going to try to follow the line. So right?
Okay, yeah, sure. So you carry on round the corridor. You go past this door. If you look in briefly, there's a room that's got lined up. There's loads of what I can only describe as space helmets. They're upside down fish bowls like the dog has.
It's like jump seat?
No, that's on the left-hand side. As you get to the crossroads, you turn right, and there is a massive hall, which has got rows and rows and rows of seats.
Okay. The Hoblins are going to race up to them, take the nearest ones, and jump up and down on them until their feet get tangled in the seat belts.
Yeah.
And then they're going to try to figure out how to put them on.
Wonderful. When they eventually sit down in the seats, the restraints automatically lower. There's loads of spare seats. That's the end of the timer. But I'm just going to quickly, because you split the party, I'm just going to quickly give the Reginalds and the McGoblins time to do one last thing if there's anything they want to do in this room.
So I'm by the space helmets. They're just going to.
Thanks for the warning, Mr. Leno.
They're just. The first half will troop after the Hoblins, and round. But the last few get a bit allured by the space helmets and running their cackling and like grabbing at them, putting them on, going, "I'm the mechanic now." It's a fantastic around.
My
totally forgetting
apologies.
about the time.
There's about 5 space helmets in the mechanic's room, but the mass hall of space helmets is like the next room.
Yeah,
down,
that's the one I got to. Sorry, that's the one I'm passing. So half of mine
Okay.
have just gone to get on the seats, but then maybe, I don't know, the last 20 or something are all like dancing around. I'm the mechanic now.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect.
And start licking each other's
and
helmets and things.
Goblins.
The McGoblins have decided to engage in a mass hug of the mechanic.
Oh,
Basically, they've all formed around the mechanic in his seat, and they're all holding on to each other and the mechanic in sheer unbridled ineptitude.
Sure. So he's like the linchpin, I guess, of
Mhm.
what you're attempting to do.
Yeah, we're just going to hold on to the mechanic and think nothing can possibly go wrong.
Okay, wonderful. You at that point hear over the speakers.
Commencing jump to sewage tube prime in 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 1.
And then the ship starts to shake very violently, and you feel those of you in seats feel your stomach go, and your eyes get sort of wrenched back into your head as there's obviously a tremendous force of acceleration. The rest of you. Apologies. I would like you to roll some dice for me. I'm going to say, Luke, you managed to get about half of your goblins into seats.
Yes, I did well.
Which is good.
It's good.
There is very little risk. Not even a risk level 1 for those of you seated. So I would say, can you roll a D? Oh, it's half your goblins. Go ahead and roll a D12 for me.
A D12? Okie dokie.
Yeah.
I'm feeling confident. Is that 12 here? Oh, a 9. We're rolling badly tonight.
Wonderful.
Well,
So
you say it's wonderful.
you've got half of. I mean, 9 out of 50 is pretty good.
Yeah.
So you've got 50 goblins in this room with glass spacesuit helmets on their head that suddenly get thrust back into the wall, where they're not holding on to anything. One of them might have been picking up the helmet, trying to put it on at the time. Most of the helmets, I mean, this is a new ship, it's new equipment, seem to hold up to quite a bang. But none of them, in fact, do cave in completely, as do your goblins' heads. I'm sorry.
Oh, little Reginald.
And then your full 100 goblins are sort of holding on to this dog who's growling at you, strapped into his chair, worried that the extra mass is going to wrench his chair off of the floor, basically. Could you roll a D20 for me, please?
Oh.
Yes, I certainly can.
As you hear the ship announce.
Jump initiated.
I want to know what the fear in the mechanic's eyes is right now.
It's a 1.
It's a 1.
And somehow, the brackets on this seat are screeching with the pain of a metal that is under far too much force for what it was designed to do. But somehow the bolts managed to hold. Your goblins, somehow, I don't know how often they go to the gym, but they somehow all managed to hold on. Certainly the ones in the middle, not too bad because they're, encirculated by the ones on the outside. One of them does slip and go flying up against the wall, and slouches and just falls to the ground.
The other 99 point at him and go, "Loser!"
Oh.
The dog's still growling, and at this point it's probably started barking and slashing out with what is basically these white padded gloves over his suit. He's got no claws, essentially. And at that point, it goes on for the gut wrenching feeling goes on for a few minutes before it gently eases. And Hoblins, you sit there for some period of time, probably bored out of your little green minds with the lack of in-flight entertainment.
We've been thinking about those vents.
Another few minutes pass and your restraints lift up.
Yeah.
And you appear to be in jump, and you're free to explore the ship for as far as you're aware, or do anything else that you may wish to do.
Everything in here is so big, it's not for goblins. Those vents are for goblins. Those vents for hoblins. Straight into the vent. They just run up the hall, find, like 5 or 6 of them along the hallway, and like rip them open, and then just slide in.
Okay, there's definitely like a long stretch of hallway where there will be that many vents visible. They're all bolted in quite securely. A spaceship like the jump was going to shake something loose, but the sheer number of goblins you have, you managed to rip them quite successfully off of the walls. I'm not sure what the Chancellor's going to think when he gets his spaceship back. But you crawl into the vents. It's quite cozy. There's they lead inside the wall, and it's as you would expect, I suppose. There's a long tubular vent that runs the length of the wall. It might go up at some points and down at some points, kind of avoiding the computer screens or other electronics or whatever other life support units might be behind the walls. But you are in the vents.
Yes. We live here now. They're very stinky.
You can in fact, you probably got time for a little bit of a nap if you want. It's entirely up to you. You can set up home, you can mark your territory, whatever you wish to do.
While it is very cozy and we like it in here, we're not quiet. There's definitely banging on the walls to see who responds. Reginald! It's Hoblins! Reginald! Not anywhere near where Reginald is. I have no sense of direction.
Through the humming of the spaceship, you start to hear a noise coming closer on the other side of the wall as a troop of 86 Reginalds are doing, all wearing space helmets, are doing the conga down the main corridor. They go do 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 do, and then like one of them in the middle hears the banging and like stops, and the whole line just sort of crashes in on itself. And we stop banging on the wall. Hoblin!
Reginald!
Hoblins!
The goblins!
Oh, is there room?
Okay, they bang their way toward where they think the room is.
Let's join you. And they turn around, they go straight down the vents and conga down the vents, the tiny constrained areas, to try and find the Hoblins.
Oh, Hoblins don't like that. Hoblins don't like that. Hoblins. Oh, no.
Hoblins.
Definitely the advanced line of Reginald's meets some resistance. Our vents. And they just like reach out with like claws and fists and just like at the Reginalds. Our vents.
The Reginalds start snarling back with their teeth. Oh, you invited us. And a whisper goes back down the line. Whisper goes back down and comes back. Peace offering. And the first one ceremoniously takes off the helmet and hands it over. Peace offering. For your head or fish.
They put it on. And then they like bang it against the wall to see how well it sticks together.
And that causes a lot of excitement in the Reginalds that all start doing the same. 85 Reginalds join in. It's like boom, 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 boom.
Do they, aside from the one who gave away the helmet, do they all have helmets on?
Yes, they do, yeah.
Okay. So one of them's probably feeling a little bit worse for wear. The rest are reasonably well protected. What are the goblins doing at this point?
The goblins have sort of assembled themselves into some semblance of order and opened the door to the mechanics' quarters. and piled out, and then turned in the direction they hadn't come from, so towards the areas that the others had gone on towards.
Yeah.
And we'll go and explore those chambers to find out if there's anything of interest. And when I say interest, I mean anything loose that can be easily removed without too much effort and pocketed.
Yes, of course. So the first door you come across is a door on the left, which is filled with space helmets. But there appear to be other, there's sort of footlockers around underneath where all these space helmets are hanging. If you want to go through those, you can.
Oh, definitely, yes. Footlockers sound great. We might find foot in them.
You would think so. But you do in fact find the odd screwdriver, like monkey wrench, the odd tool, and possibly a couple of wrappers from like some chocolate bars or something that the crew constructing this spaceship left behind to get taken into outer space.
We will grudgingly take the tools, but be very enthusiastic and excited about the wrappers.
Wonderful. They're very crinkly. Some of them might even have little bits of chocolate left on the inside, but you rustle them, they make a really cool noise.
There you go. They're clearly the great prize.
And one of them came from the same place that this screwdriver came from. Who knows? They may even go together to form some kind of, I don't know.
That's it. You won the game.
Advanced tool.
Yeah.
You got the wrapper with chocolate still on it.
For several seconds, the Goblins attempt to try and wrap the wrapper in the tool, so to speak, to see if they can fold a screwdriver around a wrapper to turn it into something more useful. And when that obviously proves challenging, they give up and declare that the tool is obviously defective, but will need repairing at some point, and they must apply some different wrapper to repair it.
Yes. Yeah. Around about this time, the ship announces to you all.
Attention plans. We have arrived at Sewage Tube Prime. Optimum viewing can be achieved from southeast window of the bridge.
And you feel the ship slow down a lot less aggressively, I suppose, than it entered into jump. But it is a noticeable feeling. And we have arrived, according to the ship.
Well, we like this ship now. We can just stay on it. It's ours.
Okay. Goblins are rather lost as to what to do, so they're going to go and watch the engineer to see if it does anything interesting.
Yeah, the engineer, excuse me, exits his private quarters, walks up to the wall essentially of the corridor, and goes up onto his hind legs and starts tapping away with his paws onto presumably one of these computer screens, and then comes trotting towards you down the corridor. Sort of snarls as he goes past you and carries on.
We will pursue engineer. I mean, not aggressively, you understand, but we will fall into line behind the engineer and make absolutely sure that we copy every possible movement it does, down to the extent that if it wags its tail at any point, we're going to wiggle our butts around as well.
Wonderful. The tail starts off wagging quite enthusiastically, but presumably when he hears the pitter-patter of tiny goblin feet behind him, it dulls slowly and then eventually just sags between his legs in a very sad dog kind of way.
Leading inevitably to 99 goblins sort of slouching along behind him, looking very depressed.
Perfect. He gets to the crossroads where the jump seats are on your right, turns left and goes into a lift.
How big is the lift?
I mean, you can certainly probably get 30 goblins and him in. I mean, this is a massive spaceship.
Rules are meant to be broken.
The number of goblins that will fit into this lift turns out to be the literal cubic volume of goblins.
Yes.
There will be no cubic centimeter of non-goblin in that lift when it sets off.
So the mechanic starts backing up into the corner slowly, and then backs up some more, growling the whole time. He's clearly had enough of goblins a long time ago. But you eventually all get into the lift. He's already pushed the button, so the door's shut. The lift goes up. In fact, there are only 2 buttons. And it opens up onto what you can only assume is the bridge. There's a big window that runs all the way around and lots of control panels in the bridge. The dog automatically goes over to the southeast window and looks out the southeast window. If you follow, you don't see anything. It's just space. The dog looks sort of like cocks his head to the side, runs over to one of the computer panels and starts typing something in with his paws, or one of the units on the bridge.
Well, we must help, so we run to all of the other computer panels and start typing something in.
Wonderful. One of your goblins at some point hits a few buttons. I mean, you can't read it. There's a layout of what you would know to be a keyboard, but your goblin obviously has no idea what any of these symbols mean at all. Do they press anything?
Press everything.
Wonderful.
The mechanic is pressing things. We will be pressing things. We're just trying to help.
Perfect. As you press things, it brings up a map of the ship, and there's some slide rules down the side, the equivalent of a mixer, basically. And there are 8 of them that are all currently in the top position. The mechanic presses a couple more things, and you hear over the computer.
Distance to sewage tube prime currently 2 irregular space units.
And then he runs over to another station and starts pushing more buttons.
Well, he has vacated a station, so clearly goblins will rush to the one he's just left and start pressing everything on that one as well.
Perfect. Before he even gets to the station, you start pushing buttons on that system, and the computer then relays to you.
Fuel pump error. Warning. Warning. Fuel pump error. Warning.
And it appears that there is an error with the fuel pump. The mechanic sort of looks back, growls, and then sort of looks a little bit impressed that you managed to extract some useful information from the computer. And I've just looked at the time, so this possibly could be a good time for a break.
As the goblins are cheerfully high-fiving each other in the most ridiculous 99-person array.
Yes. And as we get back, we'll cut back to the Hoblins and to Reginald. Or the Reginalds, I should say.
The Reginalds. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break, so we're going to flick through some adverts of people who we've been chatting with, who have got some amazing stuff we want to show off. You've still got time to join the draw. I want to, but I don't have the ability to click that thing because that's my shortness. I'd love to, but I can't bid, so people need to bid on these badges, and we'll be back in 5. Don't go anywhere. We need to find out how we're going to get rid of some of these 100 goblins from the Hoblins, because I'm very upset that they've got so many left.
Because they're not as chaotic as you.
I've been offering dangerous activities.
We're gonna-
I would not have been upset if any of the ridiculous things the Hoblins have done was deadly. It's fine.
We're going to start dueling
There's
you in a
plenty of
minute.
time for that, though.
Exactly.
I'm
Right.
gonna ramp it up a
I've
bit.
done
after
deadly
as well.
things, but it turns out I'm like charmed.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go into break. We'll be back in 5. Don't go anywhere. Enjoy these adverts. They're well worth it.
Are you the kind of person or unspeakable nightmare horror who likes actual play podcasts, but occasionally wants a break from all the high fantasy heroics? If so, you should check out Negative Modifier, an actual play podcast that specializes in darker, more mature games. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, and more or less anywhere else podcasts can be found.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for staying. Those who stayed, it's appreciated muchly. We've got a heads up for this for these badges. I'm going to miss out, but it's okay. I'll buy some of my own, I think. Let's do a draw. Sparrow, you're not allowed to make a roll because you've got a vested interest, and I don't yet know how you roll in games, but I've got a feeling it's going to be lucky. So we need to go to someone who rolls unluckily, which is Ewan.
I haven't got any dice.
Oh, it's got to be Ben then.
I apologise.
It
feels weird, but.
All right. So what am I rolling? A D2, basically. Is that right?
Yeah. The lower half, whatever you roll, the lower half will go to Ali and the upper half will go to Sparrow.
Well, for religious reasons, I'm going to roll a D12, obviously.
Well, it makes sense. So 1 to 6 is Ali, 7 to 12 is Sparrow.
And it is Sparrow who gets it.
Yeah, get him.
All right. I'm a winner.
If nothing else tonight, you've won that. Get him.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Excellent.
That's
I'm
good.
always excited about being a winner. Also, I have a surprising amount of characters who are on the row of evil when it comes to alignment. So
Well, there you go. It seems like it's
maybe not surprising to some people, but selfish characters are fun to play. Like maybe you don't always run straight in with your sword outstretched. Maybe you think about why you want to be in that fight.
you sit back and a little bit.
Why am I invested in this?
Independent thinking.
Does my patron want me to do this?
Exactly. Right, we're going to launch a prize for the second half, which is a for the second half, we're giving away a month's worth of Tier 1 subscription to the channel. A Tier 1 subscription is not just the ability to post these rather funky little things, whatever they're called, emojis. It also gets you a free zine, which I put together under the guise of Kara. So you'll get that sent through PDF to your email address. I think it's
a
quite
really
good.
great zine.
Yeah.
It's very wholesome and nice, and I like it a lot.
And if you're already those that are already subscribed, you can use that as one of your resubscribes. We can top it up next time your subscription runs out. Yeah. So it's open to all if you want. 200 to get a free month. Can't hurt, can it? So there we go. And on that, back to you, Ewan. I've never used that before. I'm going to use it all the time from now.
I've never heard that before. Wonderful. So we join you back aboard the ship. Goblins and the mechanic on the bridge, having just realised that there is a fuel pump problem on the ship, and you appear to have exited jump, not where you're supposed to be. Hobgoblins and Reginald, you are still in the vents, I believe. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll cut back to you for a little while. As the mechanic potters around on the bridge and runs over to a few different units and starts pushing some other buttons. But if you guys want to tell us what you're doing, in the meantime, as this goes on.
Oh, we're going everywhere.
Just literally, the ship becomes.
We're just spreading out. Every time it branches, we send like 10, like 5 goblins down, and we see where the vents come out.
Yep. Perfect.
Hopefully somewhere like private and like intrusive on somebody else. I say as a player.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they end up in space, quite frankly.
If I'm honest, the ventilation system is pretty much your life support. So this tends to follow corridors. Every now and then it goes up and above a room, and will drop down into that room. The majority of this ship is fuel, oxygen, and the areas you have seen. There is the whole other arm of the ship that you haven't been up. And then there's obviously the area directly opposite where the jumpsuits were, which you guys haven't been in. So it's entirely up to you where you want to go. It kind of follows the same path as the corridors in the ship.
Wherever it goes above a room and we can see down into the room,
yeah,
we shout "Hoblin, Hoblin, Hoblin" in there, and then we break the vent and go down in. Which calls all the other Hoblins in, so all 100 can be in there, so you can kill as many as you need to.
Yeah, which is interesting because the first, as you come to the first corridor you're in is the crossroad corridor. There's obviously the crew area, which you've been into. You've gone into the vents, and there's a couple of rooms there which don't have any vents going into them for whatever reason. There is, however, a lift shaft. So, I mean, it's entirely up to your goblins. I don't know how zealous they are and how many would be running up behind the first goblin to look down this air vent and realise that it's a pretty long fall.
Well, I mean, the lift's got to go somewhere, probably with more vents.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, we jump down on top of the lift and just sort of like jump on it to see if that will make it go somewhere.
The lift is up.
Too late now.
Literally off the shaft.
Okay.
Whoops.
In fact, I'll say for now,
start
go
climbing the cable.
Okay, cool. First off, go ahead and roll a d6 because there's 100 goblins in this vent, probably reasonably carried away. I don't know how many are going to go piling into the back of somebody.
4.
And send 4 of you careening down the lift shaft.
Well, that just makes it more interesting.
It's a way to go before all of a sudden the momentum of the group sort of stops a little bit, and you go climbing up the cable for the lift, which eventually leads you to the bottom of a lift. There is a panel in the bottom, not a vent, but there is a panel in the bottom of the lift.
We knock on it a bunch, yelling "Hoblin, Hoblin, Hoblin, Hoblin" until it opens.
But goblins, you can hear "Hoblin, Hoblin, Hoblin" coming from vaguely in the direction that you came from.
Fair enough.
Which is odd because it's a lift which hasn't gone anywhere.
Are there any other exits from the bridge that are not the lift?
There aren't.
Okay. Then in that case, we have been apprised of the fact that there is something that needs mending. So we will grab our wrappers, and those of us that happen to be left with the rather inferior tools will charge and pile into the lift to head down looking for something to tighten, loosen, adjust.
Perfect.
With our wrappers.
Before you do this quickly, the mechanic was pattering away at some more computer screens. Would you have still been trying to help, or?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. If you could just go ahead, and this is not anything to do with your goblins, this is purely for my information. Could you go ahead and roll a d8 for me, please?
I can.
Luke, could you just quickly tell me where the Reginalds are?
Well, as the Reginalds saw their new friends leaving and spreading out, it's a 5, yeah. As they saw them spreading out, they turned around and they hoik, back down the corridor, and they hoik over to the lift, and they pressed the button to bring the lift down.
Okay, perfect. So
we're all.
It was a 5, did you say?
I think we're all gathering in.
We're
gathering in the lift area.
Wonderful. So I'm going to say, timing-wise, you probably managed to get a few of the goblins onto the lift before the doors slam shut. It's a pack of goblins. Roll a d6 for me, then, please. I said we were going to get more liberal with the dice rolls.
That's
That
also
is
a five.
kind of the point of there being 100. Is that like
We'll
if
get through
they're
It's a
they're
five.
supposed to get stuck in things.
them.
Yeah. So one of them gets, well, three of them get caught halfway in the doors as they're trying to get into this lift. The other one gets a leg sort of partway through. And one of them sort of tries to cram an arm in as the doors are shutting. These clearly aren't safety doors. The doors shut. The lift goes down, and 5 goblins are no longer for various reasons.
They've
But
been
you did
dismantled.
manage. Yes, yeah, pretty much. But you did manage to get a portion of your goblins inside the lift before it left.
Okay.
Reginald, you can see the bar on the lift is sort of slowly coming towards the middle where there's a little green light, which indicates that the lift is on your floor.
As they see it coming down, they sort of back up as far as they can and try and time to all run into the lift as soon as the doors open. Their timing is not great though, so some may be charging at full speed. They're waiting.
Yeah.
They're waiting. They're waiting. No, they've run out of attention. They're going. They've started.
Wonderful. And Hoblins, as the lift is coming down, or as you're underneath, banging on the floor of the lift, shouting "Hoblins, Hoblins, Hoblins," all of a sudden you hear a and
Oh, we
some
rip
kind
it
of
open. We
mechanical
rip open the
noise.
bottom. All of
Okay,
us.
cool.
We just
Yeah.
rip whatever's going to come loose open and start piling into the lift from the bottom.
Okay, wonderful.
I imagine as it starts to move, though, some of the goblins get squished because they're right at the top of the cable.
Yeah, it's a bit of, I mean, to be fair, it's going to be quite tricky holding onto the cable and trying to, I suppose, go ahead and roll a D. How strong are these lifts? Roll a D10 for me.
It could be a D20.
Are they all on the
I tell you what,
cables?
we'll meet in the middle. Give me a D12. Give me a D12.
Okay.
Uh,
That's a 9.
Ooh.
So
9 goblins get sheared off the cable.
yeah, four of these goblins actually jump over and hold on to one edge of the panel each, trying to rip it down. And as they rip it down, they're not holding onto the cable, and they're gone. And then the other 5 don't make the transition in time. And
Yep.
yeah,
So there are however many goblins I have left at that point.
yeah.
Piled 87 goblins piled into this lift.
Plus the
With
5
however many
the 5 muck
there are.
goblins. And mine are just about to make a run for that door. A little bit early for some of them, maybe.
Yeah, and I'd say there's probably quite a few McGoblins in there as well.
Yep. Yeah, there are a proportion of McGoblins,
Yeah,
and now apparently all of the surviving Hoblins.
things are pretty tight in there. And as you come down to what is essentially the middle floor of the lift, the doors open, and you're still wearing helmets, aren't you, Luke?
Yes, of course. Well, except one of them. He's the leader. He's a self-appointed leader.
Yeah.
And they've all gone. Like I said, they've all started on waves a little bit early because they're trying to wait for that blinking light. You know, it's like trying to go for the bee on the bang of a race, and they're all off. 86 of them charging at the door.
Wonderful. Roll a d12 for me.
Okay, that's a 12.
That's a chaos level 3
I've got
for those watching.
a 10.
sorry.
A 10. I'm running very high tonight.
You time it poorly, and at least 8 go crashing straight into the doors before they open. The remaining 2 just about manage to squeeze through before the rest of the goblins come in behind them. And if I could have the McGoblins roll a D6 for me. The way this lift is orientated.
A D6?
Yes, most of the Hoblins are at the back of the lift where they came in through the vent.
That's a 4.
So the Reginalds go. These two Reginalds somehow go careening into 4 of the McGoblins' space helmets shatter. Things are broken.
It's pretty
4
crowded.
of them slump down. Yeah, it's a mess. Frankly, it's a stampede. And then
Goblins.
the remaining Reginalds attempt to pile in. I assume the rest of them are carrying on with their run.
Just more from behind as a sort of a pile that starts growing where they physically can't get in. So they're just getting piled up. They're getting a bit frustrated. No way in. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in.
Every 10th repetition of Hoblins, there is a smell.
Oh no!
Perfect. Worst lift experience.
That is enough to put the Reginalds off. The front was like, especially the one that hasn't got his helmet on. And they turn around and run up that long corridor that we haven't been down yet.
Wonderful.
And they're like, and they all run away. They're sort of bouncing off the walls and all sorts.
Perfect. You get round the corner and there's a door on the left. There's lots and lots of units in there. There's a couple of pumps going, basically. Very, imagine, steampunk style bellows type pumps, but they're giant, going up and down and up and down, and lots of flashing lights. As you get to this point, you suddenly hear the ship.
Fuel pump fixed. Approaching sewage tube prime in 10 minutes. Plans prepared to exit ship with drill for construction.
Right. The McGoblins, following their standard policy of following anything that's moving in the direction it's going, are going to pursue the remnants of the Reginalds out of the lift and down that corridor.
The Hoblins go too.
No, they're all just swarming.
Enthusiastically waving their wrappers.
Yes.
250 goblins. Oh no.
As you round, it's a very similar corridor to the one on the other side of the ship until you get past that door on the left. If you follow the corridor down or go into the door or turn back.
If we can still see where they're going, we're going to just follow the Reginalds because they clearly know where they're going.
We just go straight past. I say helmets bumping off each other, off the walls, hoiting as they go. Yeah.
These people clearly know where it's at, and we're following them.
Wonderful. You go past this door, the corridor continues to curve around, and then it opens up into what looks like a much larger space than the corridor was on the other side of the arm. And in here, you can see some tiled floors, tiled walls, and then dividing walls running along with shower heads coming out of them. And this is a giant wet room, essentially. As you go careening into this shower room at full pelt, bouncing off the walls, Reginald, could you please roll how many goblins? This is tough. It's pretty dangerous.
That's shower floors.
Yeah, go ahead and roll a d12 for me.
D12, okey-dokey. Be my speciality. Come on, let's have a low one for once. It's a 9 again.
Wonderful. Several goblins go head over heels, land on heads, land on necks. Some bump into the walls. There's a couple of mop buckets down at the other end. One of them crashes into the mop bucket, but he's okay. He's fine. Snaps the wooden mop in half, and there is a sharp, pointy wooden stick protruding as another one careens. Follows him straight into the stick, essentially. And if the other two clans are following. Could I please get the same roll from the both of you?
A D12.
Yeah, D12. I believe, Ben, this is your forte. You might get to reduce this by 1.
Oh yes, good point.
Just a 2.
That's a 7 minus 1, so a 6.
Wonderful. So two of the hoblins go sliding straight across the floor, and essentially they further impale the Reginald onto the stick, and then end up with like a club sandwich with a nice little, toothpick in the top. And
kebablin.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's a perfect kebablin. And then six of the McGoblins go flying straight into the corner of one of these walls that divides the room, spinning off in all sorts of directions, taking some pretty brutal hits and before falling to the ground. If you continue through this room, you get to a set of doors which essentially narrow. The room narrows a little bit, but there's a dividing wall, and beyond that you can see some toilets. Space toilets, obviously.
We went before we left because we're responsible.
That's true. I like it. It's like you've done it before.
We can go again, though.
It looks to McGoblins like there's nothing important to repair in here at all, other than the various dismembered goblins.
One of the toilets is leaking, and one of the showers is dripping quite continuously. You can see there's a little patch of what's it called? Stuff you get in your kettle.
Oh. I was going to say mildew, but I don't get mildew in my kettle.
Stain on the floor by one of the showers.
Okay.
But sorry, go
Fair
on.
enough. The McGoblins that have made it this far scream at the Reginalds, "We trusted you!" and charge back the other way looking for something that needs repairing, while bridge-level McGoblins are frantically punching the button to try and get the lift to come back.
Yeah. And the lift does come back eventually. By the point this has happened, you are probably all in the lift, coming back down the lift,
Okay.
as your other goblins turn around and start running back in that direction. The mechanic is coming with you, by the way.
Oh,
You've done something
okay.
right.
Well, then in that case, we will follow the mechanic as it leaves the lift. Because, once again, we're followers.
Clearly, the mechanic is your friend now.
Whether he wants it or not.
We have offered it no choice.
What are the other two clans currently doing?
Using the bathroom,
Yeah.
Of course.
yelling "Hoblins, Hoblins, Hoblins" the entire time. It's weird. And then when they're done, they will. I assume this is the end of the corridor.
Yes, yeah.
the
Sorry,
bathroom.
this
They'll run back down and see if there's anything else interesting to do. Obviously, we have a job to do here, but it hasn't showed up yet, so might as well have fun.
Okay, perfect.
As for the Reginalds, they start turning on the showers. Are they working?
They are, yes.
After one of them who slips over, they realise that they can sort of start filling these helmets, which aren't properly attached to the suits, of course, with water. And so, with great glee, they want to build up their dueling to the next level by filling the tanks with water, filling the bowls with water, putting them on their heads, and then running at each other to see it splash out and see if they can have like charging competitions with helmets full of water.
With their heads inside their helmets as well.
Absolutely. Like when they come together, the idea is the water will out the bottom. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean these are space helmets. They are essentially airtight.
I don't think. Am I wearing a? I didn't know if I was wearing a spacesuit. I just thought I had it on over my usual sort of gear.
Well, in that case, if you didn't put on the rest of the suit as well, that is exactly what will happen. It certainly is. So you can fill up as many as you want, and as many goblins of your 67 remaining goblins can do the same thing. I would say go ahead and roll a d20 because the floor is now wetter and
You are ridiculous.
you've got a bowl full of water on your head.
The helmetless Reginald, who's become the self-appointed leader, sort of stands in the middle and lowers his arm as two lines of 33 line up against each other. Go! I get a -1 to this roll though. That's what it's all about.
You
do.
do.
And it's a 9. -1. 8.
Wonderful. So it's entirely up to you. Which side do you think wins?
The side that he dubbed the lefties.
Wonderful.
They beat the righties.
The lefties only suffer 1 casualty, and the righties have 7 fatalities through various means, slipping on watered floor, especially when you turn the bowl of water upside down onto your head. It sort of leaks a little bit anyway in the first place. So there's going to be more water around their feet when they're starting off pelting.
I love the concept that there is a belief that in a game of spacesuit helmet water-filled chicken, there is ever going to be a winner.
After they've all hit each other, they're all a bit stunned and they're just having a couple of minutes of heavy breathing, just sort of all a bit dazed as the water drains out the bottom. The leader's very excited, but the rest aren't quite up for it at the minute, so they're just having a moment now.
It is about this time that the ship announces to you.
We have arrived at Sewage Tube Prime. Proceed to drill prepared for spacewalk.
Can you all hear that properly?
Yes.
Yeah, proceed to
Proceed
drill.
to the drill.
Yeah. Brilliant. So the hobgoblins, the remaining hoblins, my apologies, have just finished their second restroom break of
As you do.
of the tour. Yeah.
We have really high metabolisms.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's entirely up to you what you were drinking before your mission began.
It's a good question. We don't remember.
But it's perfectly reasonable that this would have been the case. The Reginalds have just finished playing their space chicken with water bowls on their heads.
Well, we're interested in that drill. Now that we're gonna do fun things with it.
Yeah, perfect. So you do remember, going back to your training, that the drill is not a part of the ship. The drill will leave the ship. You have been instructed to leave the ship via the airlock, rendezvous with the drill, and then proceed down the sewage tube.
So we need spacesuits.
You would imagine so. That was probably brought up in your training, yes.
We're ready for a costume change. We've gone to the bathroom twice.
That's true. It's harder to go in the bath. It's harder to go to the bathroom when you've got a spacesuit on. So good planning.
Yeah, now we're ready for
Brilliant. And the McGoblins get to the bottom of the lift. As the lift comes down, the rest of their clan pile out of the lift, followed by a rather perturbed-looking dog who sort of trots out after them, scouring. The dog turns immediately to the right. You didn't notice on your way down the lift because you were in such a hurry, most of you, to get away from, quite frankly, the smell that was remaining in the lift. but a door has come down from that section and is now sealing off that arm of the ship for some strange reason.
Okay. Does that mean some of us are trapped the other side of the door?
No, apologies. It's the door leading around to the drill.
Okay.
So it's the opposite drill to the one with the opposite arm to the one with the showers in.
Is the mechanic moving towards the shower room at this point?
No, the mechanic is walking towards the door that is shut on the other side.
Okay. Those that came down in the lift will follow the mechanic. The others leaving the shower room will try the door that they passed on the way to it to see if anything needs fixing in there, and they will try and use their wrappers to fix that.
Perfect.
The goblins are really sensible.
They are, aren't they?
They
It's a
are.
good thing they picked somebody who knew what they were doing to come on this mission.
I'll tell you what we do first. The dog walks up to the door, sort of looks a little bit frustrated at the fact that it's now shut, and pushes the button by the door, which is red, which you can only assume opens the door. And the ship suddenly comes up with...
Warning, life support removed from this area. Do you wish to proceed with opening door?
And it appears as though somebody somewhere has pushed a load of buttons and all the oxygen has been sucked out of this segment of the ship. The doors have shut to prevent obvious removal of oxygen from the whole ship.
I wonder if I'll be held responsible for this.
And the ship has asked, do you want to proceed with opening the door?
I'm uncomfortable with the word hero. Okay. Those with the dog will stand there and just wait to see what it does. You know, whatever it does, it's fine with us.
The dog kind of looks around to you guys. He's still got his space helmet and his spacesuit on at this point, and just sort of he almost shrugs at you. You would be aware from your training that the ship can respond to voice commands and fulfill certain automatic procedures. You would also assume that when the Reginalds asked earlier about there was the jump seats, whether they were essential, and the ship responded that it can also answer basic questions.
Okay. In a sort of chorus of overlapping voices, goblins are going to ask, "What are we doing wrong here?"
I like them. They're solution focused.
They certainly are. At that point, what we will do is we'll cut back to the other McGoblins and indeed the Hobgoblins and the Reginalds as they see the remaining McGoblins turn into the door that has some giant bellows pumping up and down and a lot of computer units in.
Well, I'm not entirely clear on exactly how many McGoblins there are in this room. It was a proportion. However, they are all going to immediately try and mend, improve, or modify everything they can see in the room. They're going to tighten things, loosen things, and press every button, panel, and thing they can identify.
Okay, perfect. Are the other clans following in, or are they proceeding round to the to where the other McGoblins are? Or staying put, or going in the other direction. It's entirely up to you.
Sorry, I just had to wait for the train. Yeah, we're going in. This looks like fun. In fact, the Hoblins will follow the Goblins around, and every time they press a button, they'll press the button too.
Oh no. Oh,
Perfect.
how frustrating. Now, now he'll know what it's like to be the mechanic.
yeah, definitely. So if you're pushing the exact same button as they are as they rush around, every now and then, not all the time, but the goblins that are stood by the door can see the door sort of go, and it opens and shuts a little bit. And as it opens, they sort of get sucked towards the door quite violently. And then
Every time one of the Hoblins presses a button, they shout, "Hoblin!"
And as it's shutting, you can hear off in the distance behind you, "Hoblin," every time the door changes its mind and decides to shut. Roll a d6 for me, just in case. I don't know how close you were, but the occasional one might get fun. Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have picked Chaos Level 2. That I'm not doing very well at the 2-bit.
So three of them at various points when the door is open get sucked completely through, and as the door then shuts back down again, they're sort of just left there in the room with their helmets on, but no other spacesuit. You did have helmets, didn't you? You have to remind me. No helmets, no spacesuit,
none of them at Goblins have any kind of spacesuit or helmet.
Yeah, and needless to say, they don't last long.
No. No, I feel that's very fair.
As you're running around, pushing other random buttons, can both of you roll a d8 for me, please?
A d8?
Yeah.
That's a 1.
Ooh.
Also a 1.
Oh.
Okay, perfect. And before we get on to what's happening next, what are the Reginald's doing?
I'm assuming that every time someone rolls, I'm just taking that off the total, yeah.
Oh no, sorry, not those last two.
Oh, okay. Oh, I need to
that was purely for me.
I feel like I'm taking it off Ben's anyway.
The other ones were good.
I don't know. The Reginalds, having awoken from their dazed slumbers, just go charging straight to that bellows room, and while the others are pressing all the buttons, they're just going to start trying to jump up and down on the bellows, just sort of riding them a bit, just clamping, no use whatsoever, just literally jumping up and down on the bellows and making a nuisance of themselves. The first you hear
sure.
into the room, and then they just spread out over it like kids at a soft play.
Perfect. I mean, these are giant. These are gigantic.
Oh, they love it. They're all over it. Swarm.
So there'll be a little bit of climbing involved.
Oh yeah.
Roll a d10 for me.
D10. Bit of climbing.
Well, they're giant and they're moving, and other people are pressing buttons.
D10, my favourite of the dice. Come on, don't let me down. A 2. Good old D10s.
Okay, perfect. So 2 of them plummet as they nearly reach the top and get crushed under this soft material type that the bellows are actually made of. It's not the highest budget spaceship. It does look very nice and new, but there are clearly some issues and some things that were rushed, and sort of end up trapped and rolling around, unable to breathe. Ironically, in bellows.
To be fair, you deserve that for saying they were your favourite dice.
That's true.
There's also the issue that they're attempting to climb up this soft material, presumably with their claws, as they don't have spacesuits on.
No, that's true. Oh no.
And there is a significant flash of red lights, and the alarms start going off in the ship again. And the ship announces. Apologies, my typing isn't very quick.
Warning, oxygen levels depleting.
But as this happens, the doors to the area that the other goblins who are standing in front of the door opens up completely. The three inside are no longer. There is a rush of air that sucks the rest of the hobgoblins through into the area as the area fills with air. And all of the red lights are flashing and the alarms are going.
Ah.
I fixed it. The irony.
Rappers waved in the air. We win.
Ben, if you could go ahead and hit a 10-minute timer for me, please.
Oh.
Yes. I'm afraid of that, but I can do that. A 10-minute.
Yes. The oxygen is, according to the ship, depleting. You also have arrived at Sewage Tube Prime. The drill is ready. The mechanic is looking around, slightly worried, but he's in his spacesuit, so
He's all right.
We're going to need some form of cunning spacesuit device. So, given that some areas of the ship are now sort of clearly not habitable, we're going to head in the other direction and fan out and try and find spacesuits.
You do all remember, I would imagine. Certainly, the Reginalds know that the helmets and the spacesuits are in that room.
They're not
basically straight in front.
I was going to say they're not far. It's not far away from that little entrance door, actually.
Yeah. So I guess it would depend on what the Reginalds are doing. Maybe I'm happy for both the McGoblins and the Hoblins to realise they were in there. The door would have been open as you were walking past. That wasn't the one that.
Yeah, we want spacesuits. We're at the end of the trip. It's time to be good now. Maybe.
No more hiding in the ducts and going to the toilet. Time to step up.
We went to the toilet. It's fine now. For now.
What?
Until we get our juice box. We're getting juice boxes, right?
While the goblins are all discussing juice boxes, they just hear the Reginald hut, 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 and just go straight past in the line and just head straight into the area with all the spacesuits, where they just start fighting over the spacesuits. They've already got the helmets.
Excellent. If someone's going, we're following. This is our plan.
Yeah, we put spacesuits on.
Wonderful. You'll get into the room.
There are juice boxes in the spacesuits, right?
There aren't, but the chance, you do remember as part of the briefing that the Chancellor had promised you juice boxes upon safe return of the ship.
Okay.
Whether he expects you to return is a completely different matter, but they were promised. You pull on the spacesuits. The Reginalds that already have their helmets on, they can sort of click them in place and it all holds together very nicely. And then I believe the Hoblins and the McGoblins both need to also get helmets. Is that right?
Yes.
Wonderful. So you run to put some helmets on. There are not enough helmets. Both of you have got about 10 goblins short that don't appear to have helmets, and there's also one Reginald who doesn't have a helmet on. In fact, the Reginald.
That'll be fine.
He's too much concerned about being the leader, and he's not worn the helmet since. He sees it as a sign of leadership. He's going to hold his breath.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I mean, there's still air in the ship for now. It's getting pretty thin, but you're okay for the minute.
Yeah, we'll just share around the helmets when it becomes dire.
Just like, I have my breath. Now you have a go.
The H is for helpful.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those McGoblins that have got a complete set of suit and helmet will now relax to the point that they will now go to the toilet.
I mean, this is definitely a space hazard. I'm not sure it's a risk, but
I think so.
Well, spacesuits have diapers in them. You're fine.
yeah.
How corrosive is goblin urine?
It's more
I guess you're about to find out.
one of them definitely passes out from the smell, the sheer toxicity of the fumes that are let off, but quickly sort of comes back around. It's not particularly deadly, but you're standing there in the room. Most of you have space helmets on. Where would you
The
like to
Hoblins
go?
act in absolutely no way differently, regardless of whether or not they're wearing a helmet.
Absolutely the same with them at Goblins. If you got a helmet, that's fine. If you didn't, you're following along.
This is a big mishmash. I like that.
Wonderful.
So we remember the drill. We're gonna go find the drill.
Yeah, cool. So you head back down that corridor. You get to the bend that goes right, and straight in front of you is the airlock, and just behind that is the drill.
With all the handholds.
Yes, yeah. As you approach the door to the bend, there is in fact 2 doors, which I kind of skimmed over and didn't mention last time. But this essentially acts as a second airlock, so you can go through the second airlock if you wish. Probably 50 goblins at a time between the 3 of you. And when you get to the other side, you turn right, go into the docking bay for the drill, and the big screen door type is open essentially, and the drill is sort of floating there. This area has been vacuumed of oxygen and opens up into space. There is no gravity. You're floating around, and there is a drill with
The Hoblins give their cheer, Hoblins, 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 as they see the drill. They're ready.
Wonderful.
Hoblins.
If the Hoblins seem to know what they're doing, then guess what? We're following.
So you attempt to float through this. It's a very weird experience. You do have like little grappling hooks around your waistband. They're not
Well, this
quite.
was what all the jumping was about. We're going to jump as we go.
Ah, perfect.
Grappling first, maybe. We might remember.
Yeah, they're not quite like Batman, like Adam West Batman grappling hooks, but you can throw them and they'll attach to something.
Yeah, they're just going to kind of like tie to the edge.
Yeah.
So they have a leash.
Yeah, cool. By the time you get to the drill docking area, the drill is outside the spaceship. So there's probably, I'd say 50 yards outside the spaceship. It's quite a way.
So we catch it.
Yeah. Are you going to try and use your grappling hooks to get to it, or? Okay, perfect. Go ahead and roll a d10 for me.
Ben, while you're rolling that, Ali's just redeemed it's Ben's night off, so you got to chug. Because it is Ben's night off. He's loving it. He's enjoying not having to think.
I actually feel I'm not doing you full service with this, Ali, because there's not that much left in the world. So I'm actually going to top it up a bit before I do that.
There we go.
That's actually a 1.
A 1.
Ah,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Despite, half 10 of my goblins not having a helmet.
Oh, yeah.
I lose 1.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, the time hasn't quite come for the helmet-related issues yet. You are all in the vacuum of space, essentially, even though you're inside the ship. But one of your goblins completely misses and flies off into the vacuum of space before quickly getting caught by the sun's gravity. As you get to the rest of your goblins, get to the drill behind this big shield, you can feel the heat, and you can see before you get there is a blinding light from the left-hand side of you. That is the sun. Are the rest of the clans following? Is there anything else you'd like to do before you leave the ship?
following the following plan, we're also going to try to grapple. Only we're going to completely ignore the drill and try to grapple the hoblins, so that we can follow them. And we're not actually paying that much attention to whether we're grappling a hoblin that successfully made it to the drill, or didn't.
Okay, perfect. If you could roll a d12 for me.
A D12, yes, I can do that. -1.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, clever.
That, believe it or not, is a 1 -1.
Oh, I made it.
Oh, perfect. So all of your goblins managed to grapple on to a hoblin. But hoblins, if you could go ahead and roll a d20 for me.
Mm-hmm. So we're gonna get 12.
Oh,
12. So there is a horrific moment where 12 of your goblins are just reaching out to grab hold of their handholds, and just as they do, they get grappled and pulled off from behind, and both 12 of them and 12 of the McGoblins go spinning off into space, tethered to each other via grapple.
Hoblin.
Into the sun.
Yep.
I wonder if I'll be blamed for that.
Pretty much. They drift off, they get caught by the gravity, and then they very quickly just get sucked into the sun. It's also at this point that the oxygen runs out for all of the goblins who aren't wearing space helmets. So just for clarity's sake, if you could both roll another d12 for me, and we'll see how many of those hobgoblins were the ones that got yanked off into space. And
Okay.
Well, I rolled a 10, so none of the ones without helmets were yanked into space.
Oh no.
so those 10 now,
I rolled a 9.
are wonderful, and 8
8.
of the McGoblins were not dragged off into space. 8 of the McGoblins that weren't wearing helmets, so they also go. Luke, you're one.
Just before that timer ran out, he's the leader, so quickly unscrewed the helmet off one of the other Reginald's and just booted him out into space, and then screwed it in himself.
Okay, so if you can knock a goblin off yourself for me, we'll just call that a 1. But your leader.
See, the hoblins lose goblins too. It just took longer.
Yeah, definitely. And
in space.
Are the Reginalds making their way to the drill in any particular fashion, or are they not?
They're gonna try and swim over. Hey.
Okay, perfect. If you want, you can get a little push from the back wall that's behind you.
Yeah, of course. That's the way we do it.
But you will have to go ahead and roll a. Did I say D12 for this?
Yep, I think it was a D12.
We'll say it is.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll a D12 for me, and we'll see how good a swimmer you are. Or Reginald's.
A very good swimmer. That is a 2, my best result of the evening.
Very nice. So 2 of them completely shoot the drill and go flying off.
Just swimming off into space.
Yeah,
Oh.
looking quite happy with themselves actually.
Once in backstroke.
yeah. One of them is doing backstroke, and they look quite happy. At this point, there are some handholds on the drill. You can all. There's more than enough for all of you. In fact, this is probably the only thing you've encountered on the ship so far that has had 300 or 600 handholds.
Well, that's because we didn't have a chance to break it.
Yet.
I mean, we had a chance, but we were more interested in other things.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, we haven't even started repairing it yet, so...
That is true. And there are 2 buttons on the centre where these 2 almost wings on a different plane meet. There's 2 buttons. There's a big green button and there is a big orange button. And you're all just hanging out in space.
We should get the drill over to the pipe.
Yes.
Press.
What's the jet button? Does anybody remember? They say in unison.
G. Green is G. That's for
Go?
golf.
Go.
Do we want to play golf? Orange is the shape for an orange, which is a fruit, which makes you healthy and it makes you go better. Orange is definitely go.
Orange
Okay.
sounds good.
Oranges do make you go better.
Orange.
Do you think it'll be orange juice in the juice boxes?
Oh, maybe this is choosing your flavour.
Mm.
The Goblins have recently become experts in going better, and are enthusiastically nodding at whatever other people are doing. It's like, yeah, press.
Wonderful. You press the orange button, and indeed, a big laser fires out from the front of the drill, hits the Reginald that's doing the backstroke, and pops. You imagine it's probably the green button.
That wasn't go. But I still want orange juice when we get juice boxes.
There will, in fact, be choices.
When the Reginald is evaporated by the laser, all of them at Goblins like cheer.
Hoblin.
Do they, in fact, cheer?
Yeah.
Do they lift their arms up? Do they?
Do they lift their arms up and cheer? Well, in that case, how many goblins? Oh, go ahead and roll a D20 for me.
Yep.
You're in space.
Yes, absolutely. That's a 15.
Wonderful. 15 of them throw their arms up with such gusto that not only do they let go, they also manage to propel themselves slightly off in a different direction. You might have
You're
a
playing
chance.
Goblin Chicken at this point.
You might have a chance to catch a few that do, but 15 of them go off into space. If you press the green button, does anybody?
Among the buttons we're pressing is the green button. Yes.
The laser is still going, but
We're hitting both buttons. So
It's got on off. The laser's like starting.
there's 300 hands left to hit buttons. We're also hitting the orange button again.
So the orange button turns off the laser. The green button ignites some thrusters on either side, and the drill seems to be banking away from the sun. And as it does, you see this. The sun is big. This is a massive opening of a tube that essentially has waste pouring out of it and getting sucked into the sun.
Hoblin.
And the drill slowly starts to make its way towards the entrance or the exit, depending on whether you're sewage or goblin, of the tube.
How powerful are these jets?
You're going at. It's difficult to tell. You're going at a reasonable
Is it self-steering?
speed. Sorry.
Is it self-steering?
It is, yeah. So it's banked you round, and it's now taking you steadily forwards towards.
So
the
we can't mess this up.
There are ways, I'm sure.
If there are, we'll find them.
Well, for a while, we'll just watch whatever comes out of this pipe come out of this pipe as we get closer.
You start to get closer, and you start to get closer to the to where the waste exits and sort of banks off towards the sun. And in a few minutes, you will probably hit the waste.
How close are we to the waste at the minute?
Maybe. I mean, you're getting close. Maybe 30 yards.
Is there anything interesting in the waste?
There's a lot of interesting stuff in the waste. It's hard to sort of make out at this distance, but I mean,
Treasure?
there's
Yeah,
more
that's what I'm excited about.
There's
Rappers.
some toilet paper. There's the odd alligator.
Mm-hmm. The key question is, do the Hoblins recognise the stuff they deposited at the beginning?
I don't.
We know our own.
They do. This is probably sort of like
The sun is now your territory.
at minimum.
Okay.
But you imagine now might be a good time to turn on the laser if you want to get up the.
Okay, we hit both buttons again.
Okay, the laser turns on and the thrusters stop. You go forward for a little bit, and then it's almost like it doesn't want you to just be drifting in space, so it reverse thrusts and you stand still as the laser shoots up the tube. It impacts the waste coming out and just sort of evaporates a wide circle of the waste, enough to fit a drill up.
As the drill stopped, mine are very excited, and they start clambering onto the top of it to start dancing around on the top as the laser's firing off, and again banging helmets together. Whenever have you had a chance to stand on top of a massive laser firing off with a massive sun behind you and waste point? This is exciting times that deserves a bit of a party.
Hoblins. Yeah, you get some hoblins up there jumping.
Onto the top and start banging against each other. Celebrate that we're doing a good job. We're doing a good job. Party.
Anyone that jumps just goes shooting straight off into space.
How many?
Are all of your goblins doing it?
No.
Often.
There's not that much room on it.
At least
Not necessarily all at once.
At least half of mine have. That's for sure.
Well, that's fair. Luke, go ahead and roll a d20.
Okay.
The hoblins can roll a d12 for me if you will.
Oh dear. It's a 20. My -1 is a 19,
Wow.
though. 19.
There's only 19. So 19 of them, plus a few more, clamber up onto the top of the...
I rolled a 10, and my hoblins are chanting a little more quietly now.
Was it a 10?
Yeah, 10.
Yep.
Yep.
And they jump and they just shoot straight up.
We're below the halfway point.
A few that manage to sensibly attach their grapples to the handholds don't go flying up, but it's not many in the grand scheme of things.
Did you say you lost Sparrow? You lost 10, yeah?
Yep.
All right, cool.
And you sit there in space with the laser firing off into the waste.
The goblins are looking at the laser pouring its way sort of up the pipe through the waste.
Yeah.
And chanting as if it's a sort of emotional experience for them. Enema. Enema.
So are we supposed to dismantle the pipe or just...
We've got to turn.
we
We've got to turn
dismantle
a thing somewhere, haven't we? I think.
Yeah.
I believe
Okay.
the solution is to follow whatever the other goblins are doing.
Okay, so we hit the jet button again.
Yeah.
Perfect.
As mine turn around to wave to their with one hand, wave to their floating off comrades.
Well, cool.
I have a juice box for you.
Yeah. Well.
And as you wave off, the thrusters ignite, and you start making your way up the tube. You can still see waste sort of pouring over the top of the bottom of this reed drill, essentially, and various things fly past. Some weird alien things from the other 12
Ooh, grabby
planets
hands.
in the system.
Grabby hands.
You can definitely.
Mostly the hoblins are gonna like remember to just grabby hand with one hand.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
One of their hand does. I mean, most of the hands get covered in horrible waste. But you also come out with some. There's some cool things in there. You get what looks like a set of keys. Some weird plastic. Yeah, some weird plastic cards. Like you've seen these before. Like this is similar to what people use to open doors sometimes on worlds. Certainly on Planet 1.
Ooh.
Or Planet 3, sorry. There's some other random things that you get. Some coins, sweet corn, lots of sweet corn.
Treasures.
We shove our
I'm very jealous right
spacesuit
now.
pockets full.
Perfect. And it's not actually that long before inside of your helmet, you hear the ship's voice. I should have prepared for this. that says to you...
5 irregular space units reach.
And you have reached the point in the tube at which was the minimum that you had to deconstruct.
Okay. With tools?
The McGoblins enthusiastically offer wrappers.
Yes.
And then slightly more begrudgingly pull out spanners, screwdrivers, and other things.
I mean, you could certainly try that. It doesn't look like there's much. You can sort of see the two tips of the edges of the drill are scraping up the sides almost, but there's enough break in the sewage that you can actually see the drill. It doesn't look like there's anything there. If you think back to your training, you can remember that there is in fact a lever awkwardly placed around the front of the drill, that once the thrusters are stopped and the lever is pulled, the drill itself will deconstruct the tube for you.
I'm vaguely remembering you said that, so I feel like the Hoblins are vaguely remembering you saying that.
You guys will definitely remember that.
Right.
Between
Yep.
I'm not going to do the maths, but there's enough of you left that one of you will at least remember that.
And
Okay.
the McGoblins will enthusiastically follow while that's done.
Stop.
Yes.
So we have to stop the drill so people can pull the lever.
Oh, stop the drill. We should stop
Yeah.
the drill.
Stop the drill.
So you
Hit
push
both buttons.
you push both buttons.
Oh yeah, that's
I
the
mean, a
laser
lot.
Okay, perfect. If you push both buttons, the drill stops, and there's probably about 10 seconds before you hear a thunderous crash as a load of sewage clatters into your drill, and you start moving back the other way.
To be fair, if the Hoblins pressed both buttons, then the McGoblins would immediately afterwards press
Press
both
them again.
buttons as well.
Well, in that case, there is a brief moment where that happens because the sewage is travelling at such speeds. If everyone could roll a d6 for me, all of you.
Yep.
4.
5.
5.
Wonderful. As 4, 5, and 5 of your goblins get jarred by the impact of this mass of sewage, before the McGoblins re-engage the laser and re-engage the thrusters, so you're moving again.
Okay. Just the orange one this time. So the Hoblins will put their hand over the button and pretend to press it.
That's
The chaos agents.
almost
Okay,
perfect.
enthusiastically, the McGoblins will then come along and press it again.
And the Hoblins will pull the lever.
Brilliant. So the drill stops. The laser continues dealing with the garbage coming at you, and as you climb over the top, pull the lever. The drill starts to spin, and you can see at the end of the wings there are further lasers that shoot out and cut the pipe. And as it spins around, it gets to 180 degrees, completes the cut, and the tube that is surrounding you shoots off at a tremendous speed towards the sun. And you have finished deconstructing the drill. Your ship has positioned alongside of you, and there is a control panel on the outside of the pipe. You can also see at this point that the pipe junctions off to what looks like another planet.
Oh, okay. There were more instructions, weren't there?
There were. I plan to follow them.
What were they?
I don't know.
Deconstruct sewage tube prime, turn off valve, navigate up tube using drill.
Yeah, pretty much.
We did.
Sorry, go on.
We did those the other way. We have to undo it. We did it the wrong way.
There are many parts we haven't done.
No. You're all good. You're up the drill. You're up the pipe.
Right.
You've deconstructed the pipe.
And we turn off the
You
valve.
need to turn off the valve at waypoint 1. Now you have deconstructed sufficient tube.
So we've achieved what we need to do.
Except
We have to
there's a
build
control
new
panel. What's the control panel for?
There's still garbage pouring out of this tube.
Oh, we need to turn
Oh.
We need to turn the valve off.
turn off valve.
Okay,
Excellent.
mash buttons.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'll move
single
aside from the
button
goblins
is
to
gonna
mash
be
buttons
touched
too.
by 100 different
Perfect. You hit a few buttons. The goblins hit the same buttons, and you can see that part of this tube, if that is the circumference of the tube, expands. There's like a ring that pops out and then goes back in every time a goblin pushes the button. Presumably, if you want to do the same fake out that you did before, this ring eventually.
Once the goblins figure out what's going on, they do the fake out.
Yeah, cool. Then the ring eventually stays out.
Because they are KS level 2 and they can figure this.
Yeah. I mean, I would say you're familiar enough with the McGoblins now to know the kind of chaos level that they bring and work your way around it. Goblins are crafty.
We like them enough that we won't shout over their choice for juice boxes.
Cool. Which is quite a lot on goblin terms, I feel. So
The Reginalds are good too, though. They're funny.
Yeah.
They have to have orange for this.
Definitely.
the survivors.
Yeah, well, potentially.
What are the
pops out.
Reginalds doing during this?
How close are we to the tunnel and things like that? They're getting quite bored just holding on to the edge of things. They want to explore. Can you clamber off onto things, or are we very much in space?
You can. The control panel's on the outside of the tube, so you've left the tube now. You're close enough to be able to maneuver to the control panel, and indeed the outside of the pipe.
Can we do that without being on? Can we get? How far away is the control panel?
It's one small step. For
Goblin.
My goblins are gonna.
Onto the...
So the Reginalds are gonna take it in turns to be the hero. They're gonna keep leaping to the valve until one of them makes it.
Wonderful. So what happens when they press the button on these control panels is a big ring pops out from the tube, with, again, lots of handholds on. And you remember from your training that this needs to be rotated around the tube in order to close the iris inside of the sewage tube. So you will probably need more than one of you over there.
So
but if you're...
The leader starts pointing and they just stream. They just start jumping off and streaming towards the handholds, just floating. They've totally forgotten the fact they've got their little hooks. They're just diving across the space to grab onto the thing. All 30 of them.
Oh,
pretty much at the same time. Well, 29 of them. The leader's not going.
Yeah, cool. Go ahead and roll a d20 for me. -1.
Oh, 18.
Wonderful. So the first few push off and jump off, and then what happens is the drill, in fact, the momentum from your jump pushes the drill back slightly, and the ones who are jumping slightly later completely mess up their angle because of this before the drill, self-corrects with its thrusters, and they go flying off into space.
I hate to say this, but a group of goblins have now done something, and we're going to follow.
Oh, yeah. I've got 11. So I've got 11 goblins on there, and then the one leader, the self-decided leader, is just stood like pointing at things while holding on to the laser.
Ewan really took this challenge seriously.
and watching goblins fly past him as they leap off in pursuit.
If you could go ahead and roll a d12, because the drill has now self-corrected the momentum.
A D12.
Somewhat,
Yeah,
yeah,
so it's
so it's
D12
less-
minus 1, isn't it?
Less dangerous, d12 -1.
That's an 8, so a 7 total.
Okay, perfect. So 7 of yours poorly aim their jump and go flying off into the vast depths of space. Before the rest of both of your clans, the remainder of both of your clans, end up outside the tube near this extended ring that you need to turn to close the tube. Do the Hoblins want to join and help or not? It's quite the large tube.
Do they need help? We have pockets full of treasures. I'm just thinking.
You do.
I've got this wrapper.
Hold on, let me just see how many of there's. They will need some help.
Okay. The Hoblins will leap over one at a time until they have sufficient help.
Okay, cool. So it will in fact take 51 goblins pushing this circle to get it moving.
Wow.
So
It's 11,
hold on.
45,
Quick bit of maths.
51, did you say?
Yeah.
6 more needed.
So 6 of yours will jump across. Roll a d6 for me.
Okay.
Yes.
3.
3. Okay.
So
you
3
end up-
more have to leap after them.
Yeah, you end up sending 9 over. 3 of them do not make it.
Oh.
And you guys rotate this ring slowly with a grinding metal sound until the sewage coming out of the end slowly thins and thins and thins and trickles and stops completely.
Oh, so so as they've succeeded, so we're assuming they've succeeded in the job?
Yes.
The Reginald leader wants to press the button to make the laser move back to the ship.
Perfect. You push the button for the thrusters. Do you push the button for the laser as well?
I don't.
Okay. The thrusters re-engage. The computer on board the drill seems to know what has been done, what has been completed, and it starts pulling away from the Hoblins, the Reginalds,
He's away.
a large. In fact, they're not goblins as well, but a large portion of the Hoblins. Not all of them, obviously.
It's mostly it's mostly Ben's, isn't it? It's mostly the goblins are on there, isn't it? All of them.
And your lot.
Come on, make the leap. He's sort of waving, but sort of come at the same time. We're going.
Oh yeah. My Hoblins that are over on the thing jump for the drill.
So there's 9 of them, right?
There's 6 of them. 3 of them
6
died
of
over.
them. Yeah. You sent 9 over. This is a much more difficult task than it was before. It's much riskier. You're going a further distance, and the object you're aiming for is moving. So go ahead and roll a d8 for me.
Yep.
I believe you can -1 from this.
Oh, then I lose no goblins.
Oh, good leap.
Ooh.
Spectacularly, all 6 of your goblins time it perfectly. One of them probably is slightly off, but manages to grab hold of.
This is the thing they do. They jump.
Yeah.
All that training's
jump a
been
lot.
worth it.
They are well trained, proficient in jumping.
And because they jumped, we jump.
Yes, and there are significantly more of you. If you could go ahead and roll a d20 for me.
As he jumps, mine are panicking, so hold on to his as they leap across space. My 11
so
remaining.
11 of yours are hanging on to.
That's a 17.
So Fenley's is 17. Just roll a. Not even sure what to do here. just what's that? That's pretty risky. Just go ahead and roll a d20 for me as well, Luke.
Yep.
To find out if you have any survivors at all.
So,
Just trying to work out the odds.
11 of these can die then. The most I do on this roll is 11.
Yeah.
On my d20.
Yeah, -1.
Yep. Okay. Hang on, I'm just updating Ben's number. How many mine go? All of mine go. That was 18. So they all of them were connected, holding on to the ones that fell off.
Yeah, but your leader
Yeah.
remains triumphantly
Survives.
Yeah.
in the centre position behind the drill, as the rest of these goblins manage to grab hold of handholds and various other segments of essentially the wings of the drill, and you're making your way back towards the doors of the ship. Is there anything else anyone would like to do out in space?
There's a very brief moment where the McGoblins look at the one surviving Reginald and slowly chant, "There can be only one."
No, we're good.
As the chanting happens, he gets a bit too. It goes to his head too much, and he raises both arms in the air in celebration. Yes, I am the one.
Our numbers really align with our risk levels.
They certainly do. As he raises his arms, his inertia carries him forward a little bit, so he's probably got time to grab hold of the drill again. You're moving at the same speed, essentially, and you re-enter the ship.
Mm-hmm.
As you re-enter the ship, the doors close behind you. The drill sets down, and you feel a sudden pressure change in the room and a loud hiss as oxygen appears to be coming back into the area that you are. Then you see standing, once it's shut, standing the other side of the airlock is the dog, shaking his head, holding his socket wrench, and round his paw is like some gaffer tape, presumably from his backpack, and he just walks off in the other direction, and you're left there at the airlock. Then the ship announces to you,
set destination,
and it appears it would like somewhere to go.
Juice boxes, home.
Home.
Goblin. Goblins are jumping.
And then it says,
define home.
Oh, that's quite deep for this time of night on a Thursday.
Hoblins jump and recite numbers until the computer does something else.
Okay, if you reel off numbers, the computer will say to you,
did you mean starport 17623 beta?
Hoblins. Yes. Hoblins.
Okay, perfect. And then all of a sudden, the red lights start flashing again.
Roxanne.
Destination set, proceed to jump seat.
And then the computer or the ship tells you that the destination has been set. Jump will be in 5 minutes, and you're advised to proceed to your jump seats.
Oh, we remember this. And the Hoblins run off toward the jump seat.
We're following the dog.
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful. The dog is already inside of his private quarters, in his jump seat.
Not as private as he thinks.
With his harness down, and as he sees you enter, his face drops, and you have never seen a more episode.
Group hug!
Wonderful.
The Hoblins bring Reginald, the remaining Reginald, with them.
Exactly.
You picking him up and carrying him down there. Are you gonna let Reginald? Or?
Yeah, one of them takes their helmet off and puts it on. It doesn't matter that the Reginald is still wearing a helmet. They put another helmet on the Reginald in a token of appreciation for the vent helmet.
He was the giver of the helmet.
He was the giver of the helmet.
It's his new symbol. It's his sign.
Wonderful.
Double helmet.
Double helmet.
Perfect. So as you reach your jump seats, the harnesses go down. The doors shut behind you, which is a bit odd. They didn't do that last time. But all seems secure. And the jump is initiated. And those of you in jump seats are perfectly fine. If I could get those of you not in jump seats to go ahead and roll a d20 for me.
A D20.
D20. Ooh.
I'm
Wow,
pretty
this
sure
could be
it's awesome.
bad.
This is big times now.
Actually, it's not too bad. It's a 1.
Oh.
So once again, that outer ring holds strong, and where you link arms around the bulk, somehow again the jump seat of the dog manages to hold on. And only one of you,
before, though.
yeah, only one of you goes flying off to be splattered against the wall. You have entered jump again. Your stomach flies out. And then it starts to ease off again slightly. The dog's, all of your harnesses go up. The dog's harnesses go up. He trots over to his door, pushes a button, and wanders out. Is there anything?
Follow.
Perfect.
Are we there?
You're still in jump, technically.
Oh,
Not right.
we gotta go to the bathroom.
Wonderful. So you're not in that high velocity acceleration of the jump. It's eased. Your harness is released, and you can.
Yeah, do the thing. I just have to. Yeah. My hoblins are half like 5-year-old, half like me.
Yeah, cool. How desperate are you? Do you run to the bell? Do you just take a casual stroll?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of bored too.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So you walk through the showers. Roll a d8 for me. The floors are dripping wet from all the water.
Yeah, we didn't fix
the
it.
Reginald
And the blood.
Yeah. -1. So
So 5.
5. Cool. So 5 of your goblins perish on the shower floors, which seems to be possibly the most dangerous encounter.
Yeah, I would have thought the
Except an original.
And the rest of them make it to the toilets and are perfectly fine. What's Reginald doing?
Reginald is so content with his day's work, he's just having a little snoozy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just laid back with his helmet on and his other helmet cocked at an angle on top, where he's sort of fallen asleep. Where he's just having a little sleep. He's tuckered out. He's had a magical day.
Nice. You eventually slow down, and again, it's less violent than the acceleration of entering jump, and you are at the starport. Your ship docks with the starport. A different dock to the one that you were at before. This seems sort of like the back entrance, if you will, like the shady back entrance. Yeah, definitely. And your ship announces that you've docked and you've arrived, and that the Chancellor is there to meet you.
Hoblin.
I can see them, hoiking their way from the toilets while chanting all the way to the exit.
Yes.
To the poor old Chancellor.
We will follow the Hoblins all the way up to the Chancellor, get really, really close and all around, and then undo the spacesuits so that the Chancellor gets the full experience.
Wonderful. Are the rest of you proceeding to where the Chancellor is?
Reginald.
We'll bring the Reginald at the Reginald.
I said Reginald was still asleep.
Oh, we'll carry the Reginald above our head.
Carry him over. The snoozing Reginald.
Before you get quite into close proximity to the to the Chancellor. He just says, "Welcome, and once again, thank you for your help. The universe owes you a tremendous debt." The mechanic walks past you off the ship, and the Chancellor sort of scowls at him and just gives him a look of what happened, I suppose. I'll admit I'm surprised that quite so many of you made it back. That wasn't in our plans at all. You look around, and from behind him, outstep 3 armed guards on either side, with what appear to be some kind of rifle.
That's not.
Pointed in your direction.
Those aren't juice boxes. The Goblins leap on the guards. Like they unscrew their helmets and they use them as bludgeoning weapons.
Do they drop Reginald?
Yes. No. Some of them swing Reginald. Those are not juice boxes. Goblins know better. This, to borrow one of your phrases, this is not on.
This is right out of order.
Okay,
Yes.
Reginald is rudely awakened. As he's being wielded as a weapon. What are the goblins doing?
Well, without wishing to overemphasize the point, following.
No, it sounds perfectly reasonable. Both of you can roll a D20 for me.
Okay.
These are 6 armed guards.
Right.
It was 3 a minute ago.
Get him.
3 on each side. So,
Okay.
D20, you say?
yeah.
That's a 19.
Oh no!
I actually can't. Oh damn! That's a 4.
Oh.
They're ready to go.
Nice.
We've been to the bathroom 3 times. We're still covered in poop
Yeah.
from the sewer pipe. We're like, and we were promised juice boxes, and they're gonna shoot us.
They're angry. Yeah, the anger is like.
That's not at all what they promised. They promised that we'd be free, but we don't. We heard what we wanted to hear.
Well, they did promise that, but it's almost like they had other plans. So you rush the guards. The McGoblins managed to get their spacesuits. In fact, they're probably more preoccupied with getting their spacesuits off than they are actually doing any damage to the guards. And alas, there's this weird situation where the guards seem to be put off. But as they shoot lasers at the McGoblins and pierce more holes into their spacesuit, the situation gets worse and the smell intensifies. All 6 of them eventually end up, holding in the vomit and trying to.
They're covered in bite marks.
Yes,
Battered with helmets.
They've been battered with Reginald. They've been battered with helmets. They are covered in bite marks. And eventually you overpower them and the guards fall. But you are not without loss, alas.
You're not kidding.
The Chancellor slowly starts looking at this, slowly starts to back away, and he looks very, very nervous. He says, now, calm down, friends. Do you remember, how about we go get some juice boxes?
The Goblins are feral now. They go for the Chancellor.
Reginald's going for the mechanic to ride him around like some kind of king in a battlefield. He must be doing laps around as the feral beatings happen.
Yeah, and it's perfect. To be honest, the mechanic is kind of, he knows what's going on now with you guys, and he's eased to you a little bit. In fact, Reginald jumps on him and does start riding him around and almost, dictating Kings of Old. The Chancellor.
Get the Chancellor!
Looks actually panicked about this. Not to mention the rather large number of surviving feral goblins which are now charging him. He backs himself into a corner and he's just, no, please, I'll give you all the juice boxes you want.
All the juice boxes I want won't bring back the McGoblins.
He genuinely looks quite concerned. He's tapping something on his arm.
There was supposed to be one.
as if trying to call for help, he's tapping a big red button.
Oh, the
on
hoblins
his,
leap on him. He's calling
computer.
for help. We don't like that.
And assuming you want to do away with the Chancellor of this planet, he is done. He falls to the ground and he says, "No, I'm sorry. I only wanted the survival of the universe." And breathes his last breath as he collapses to the ground. And in fact, behind him, you do see the largest buffet table of juice boxes you have ever seen in your life.
All the
universe is
hoblins
saved.
brush their hands. Job done. And they go for the juice boxes.
The universe is saved. There are, in fact, 600 juice boxes, enough for 2 each. A variety of flavours, which was the promised deal. However, there are not 600 of you. 300 of you each.
Reginald's filling his helmet bowl with it, like a fish bowl. Taking it back, standing on the back of the engineer, the mechanic.
The Chancellor is dead. Life goes on. You imagine that a large majority, if not all of the universe, will have no idea that they were saved by 300 goblins in space,
Hurrah!
Hooray!
who are now drinking themselves silly with juice.
We do pour it. We didn't get a chance to ask the McGoblins what flavor. So one of each
One of
for
each.
the McGoblins.
I have a horrible feeling if you'd asked, they'd say whatever you like.
Whatever you are having.
Right?
They were good followers.
And I do apologise that this has gone on much longer than I had anticipated.
I had a great time.
It was good stuff, man. Thank you.
You. That was
Believe it
glorious.
or not, I cut a lot of stuff.
You
I
put
had-
so
I
much
had
more
much
work
more-
into this than I ever have, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, good man. Thank you.
That was the panic setting in, I think, throughout the couple of weeks leading up to it.
I so
like,
enjoyed
oh,
that. Thank you.
yes.
That was really, really good.
That was wonderfully
was-
silly.
It was a fun game. I enjoyed it. And
Lots to remember of it, I'd say. Lots of memorable bits.
yeah, there's a lot of fun, silly, enjoyable stuff that can happen. It's really good.
Before we go on, we'll talk about just in case Tony and Ollie are still here and they want to go. Can we roll for them quickly to see who wins? It's a heads up in the
Yeah.
power couple. Sparrow, you can do this one. Use any of the dice you want. The lower half is for Tony, the upper half's for Ollie for a 3-month
Okay.
subscription.
So just make sure you don't roll like a D17.
Well, I'm gonna roll the dice that I have, and I have a standard polyhedral set. So I'm gonna roll all 5 of them, add them up. I'm kidding. That's a 7
7 on what dice? Not a D6, was
on a
it?
D12.
On a D12. That means Ollie gets it. It's a house divided. Ollie's getting a free subscription. Tony has to go and eat worms. Well done. Well done to you. I will write that down so that I don't forget. Well done, Ollie. Thank you, Ollie, Tony, Ali, for hanging out for a long time. Thank you, Ewan, for all that panicky work.
That was really tremendous. Thank you, Ewan. I love that.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was, yeah, I was having a great time. And again, that was a lot more planning than I've ever done for this. I was really impressed the entire time. Like, oh, he knows what the ship is saying.
Well,
He has a plan.
I wanted to do something with it. It strikes me as a great game for if you've got an organised night and somebody cancels at the last minute and you just want to throw something together. It strikes me as something that you could really do that with. But if you want to pour more into it, I guess you can. I probably poured too much in, and we went on much longer than was expected. But it's a lesson learned for next time.
It worked out really well.
Yeah. And it was enormous fun. There was plenty of opportunity to be, frankly, quite silly.
Yeah, which is the most important thing, I feel, in any game.
Exactly.
Are you, Luke? Are you okay with all your originals dying?
Well, one survived, and that's the main thing.
That's true.
Yes. It was my lot who lost everything.
Yeah, I was surprised at the differential, and then I looked at your chaos levels, and I suddenly thought that makes perfect sense.
It does make
The
sense.
4 and the 5 would have few left, and
I mean,
slightly
to be
more.
fair, if I'd rolled just slightly luckier on that last one, I'd have probably had half a dozen left, which would have
Yeah.
matched our levels pretty accurately.
Yeah, you just rolled really big on that last roll.
But that's life. It happens.
I feel really good about, given that betrayal, what we did to the ship.
Yes.
They'll never be able to use it again without a deep clean. That ship's going to need an incredibly deep clean before it's used
We
again.
should have broken the toilets when we were done. Like, if we'd known this was going to happen, that would have happened.
Just keep flushing it till they overflow.
I mean, they may not be broken, but they are basically contaminated with dead Reginalds, so they're not great.
A lot of
The showers
a lot of
are going to
mopping.
need an extensive mop.
Goblins are fragile.
Well, D&D has taught us that, especially at the lower levels. Okay, I'm going to call the stream there. We can continue a brief goodbye to each other in a minute anyway. But for the stream, thank you everyone for staying. Tomorrow, we are back at 10:30 p.m. UK time for our regular traveller. We're going back to Earth Park. Sparrow's got the bag. We're off to Earth Park again, but this time with nefarious plans, I feel. And
Yes.
and we've got to
I'm
get
excited.
and we've got to get past this woman that we've upset because we left her on a mountainside, and she's showed up
I'm
again.
really excited. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to interrupt your game for Rose's cat.
A Rose's cat. A
More
well-timed
importantly,
Rose's
the next
cat.
instalment of Rose's cat.
Well, I hope you are enjoying Rose's cat because you're one of the more consistent buyers of Rose's cat.
Have I missed bits of Rose's cat? Do I need to go back and clip?
Last week, there was one last week. Did you catch last week's one?
Was there an extra one last week? Because I'm the one who asked for that
No,
one.
No, that was it.
If
That was
you
the
got
only
the
one.
one that you picked up. That was the one.
You've got them all.
Excellent. So we're on number 5 tomorrow.
I think it might be number 6.
It's okay. I'll check out the VOD.
I'm not.
Someone
certain.
should be timestamping these. We should be keeping a note, really.
Ben's got the
I'll try and
record of them
remember.
all. If he gives you what the loose theme is, I'm guessing he'll be able to tell you.
Yeah.
But
It's really okay. I'll figure it out. I still have to catch up on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that was good as well. Actually, I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
I keep getting all these little insights into his mind and how he tricks us and wraps us around his fingers. Yes. Anyway, I'm getting
The last Rose's cat was number 5.
I was 5.
Excellent. I think I've heard all of them then.
I'm going to
So
end
far.
the stream for the viewers anyway, if anyone's still survived. Thank you, everyone. So 10:30 tomorrow. Ollie, I'll sort out your sub tomorrow. Thank you, Tony, if you're still here for everything. We will sort those badges off from you in the next few days as well. And have a lovely day tomorrow, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye. Right.